goes. So a little team battle. Should be a little fun here as both players are 4-1. You see their respective rankings here on the SCG Tour. 14th for Jacob Baugh, 20th for DJJD. As game number 2 about to be underway, Davis currently up a game.
And potentially a replay of what we saw last round with Jacob Baugh, just buried by Snapcaster Mage and removal spells.
I think we're going to see Baugh on the play here in just a moment. Maybe they're just trying to figure out if he wants to keep his opening hand or not. Now, Davis is among the camp that is playing Nahiri this weekend. The 4 Nahiri plus 1 Emrakul, a bunch of spot removal spells, some card drawing, all that jazz. We saw that a little bit earlier this weekend. He is doing that as well. Looks like Jacob taking a long look at the opener. Oh, they're good to go. This is a duress. Jim will show the opening hand. It's a lightning bolt and a gate, a path to exile, and then lands in 2 colonnades, a scalding tarn, and a hallowed fountain. See how Jacob wants to poke a hole in this hand. He'll take care of a lightning bolt. We'll head Davis this way. Snapcaster remains the draw.
Lightning Bolt, the best card to pick out of that hand if Baugh is following up here with Dark Confidant.
Which he is not. It's a Scavenging Ooze.
I suppose the same thing holds true, just the upside on Scavenging Ooze a lot lower than the upside on Dark Confidant.
An Overgrown Tomb is the land Jacob's going to search up. We'll be heading back Jim's way in just a moment. Team captain of Metagame Gurus will draw a card. See what the second turn brings for him. Maybe a Scalding Tarn. And a passing of the turn. Going Baugh's way. Picked up another copy of Tarmogoyf. Going to start by attacking with the Scavenging Ooze. 2 damage to be dealt. Davis will fall down to 18. A Raging Ravine, and now an attempt at a Tarmogoyf. See if this resolves. There are now Tarmogoyf for 3/4. Lightning Bolt is your instant. Duress is your sorcery, and Verdant Catacombs is your land. And Jim will sacrifice the Scalding Tarn.
And now we're going to see Snapcaster come into play here, as Jim can untap Snapcaster, the Lightning Bolt, and get the Tarmogoyf off the table, because the Bolt will be out of the graveyard. Goyf is then just a 2/3 because of sorcery and land, and then you have your Scavenging Ooze, a Snapcaster Mage matched up against a Scavenging Ooze.
Well, maybe not. He's just going to path the Tarmogoyf. I actually like your line of play a little bit better. I'm a little surprised to see this here by Jim.
It's possible Jim just wants to sit on Negate for fear of a Planeswalker.
Sure.
And playing this sort of flash game lets him manage a potential Planeswalker a little bit better.
Does seem a little risky.
Yeah, especially with a Raging Ravine on the other side of the battlefield. Got to be careful about pathing up your opponent. It's a good sink for the mana.
Well, there's Snap. There's Bolt. Clear everything up. Now pass the turn back. So we're going to head over to Jacob Baugh. He'll untap those lands. They're upside down, now they're right side up as Jacob takes the turn. Picked up a Swamp. The hand not all that impressive. Another Raging Ravine. That'll be the land for the turn. Here's a copy of Cletus. Pass the turn back. Well, Path helped do that. We go over to Davis. Well, Path the draw step. One of the things you've talked about so many times this weekend when we talk about the Jeskai deck is just how much removal they have.
Yep, a ton.
There is Path. Colonnade the land for the turn. Here comes Snapcaster Mage. Ball going to fall down to 15. Jacob will search up a land. And now the one thing that Jim has to kind of contend with are the Raging Ravines. Now, this is actually where John gets a bit of an advantage. You know, it's kind of the first deck to be able to activate creature lands. You know, not to the Colonnade is a bad card. It's a fantastic card. But Raging Ravine starts rumbling over and starts mattering very quickly.
And if you're able to connect the first time, it's a pretty big win, because then the land's outside of Lightning Bolt range, and then they're essentially drawing to either Path to Exile or some weird backdoor cards, but all the various helixes and bolts are cut off.
Ball has a decent idea of what's going on in Davis's hand because he does have a negate. Saw that a little bit earlier. Jacob going to fire in here with Raging Ravine, it appears. Here it comes. Trigger. It'll get a counter. and Davis will take 4. Now, will Baugh go with the Tarmogoyf after combat? He will. A little surprised by the sequencing there a little bit. Could have really worked himself into a mana leak.
Yeah, I think he was trying to conceal some information with the attack. That was part of the reason that he played it post-combat. But I think the risk of mana leak outweighs the upshot of concealing the information unless he knows Jim doesn't have mana leak.
Serum Visions. I believe that netted Davis a Lightning Bolt. Celestial Purge and Snapcaster Mage, the cards that Davis is looking at here. So we will see if Jim would like those. Looks like he's going to leave them both on top with the Serum Visions.
Seems very hard to turn down those 2 cards here.
They're both very good, aren't they? Hallowed Fountain is the battlefield tap. Snapcaster Mage is on defense. We're going to head back over to Jacob Baugh as he draws a card. Will he keep sending in the Raging Ravine? It looks like the answer is yes. As you mentioned, it's a 4/4 now, so it's out of Lightning Bolt range. It's in pretty good shape. Baugh is going to attack with both creatures. 4/5 Tarmogoyf, and now a 5/5 Raging Ravine.
So Jim here can cobble together at least 1 removal spell with Snapcaster Mage plus Lightning Bolt. And I think the goal here is to get the Tarmogoyf off the table so the Celestial Purge can line up with the Ravine.
It's a follow-up here. Dark Confidant. Maybe the Lightning Bolt goes somewhere else now. Now this time I like playing the Dark Confidant post-combat.
Yes. I mean, Jim's block there pretty strongly represents some 3 damage spell.
Got to finish off that Tarmogoyf though. Davis going to draw. Picked up Snapcaster Mage. Not a bad spot here for Jim, actually. He's got access to Snapcaster Mage plus Path and then Negate up. Blackcleave Cliffs is the reveal. And Inquisition is the draw. And Inquisition's pretty big right now. Negate, however, will counter that. Now, for what it's worth, Jacob knew about that. What Jacob doesn't know is the card that's left in Jim's hand. I'm curious if he wants to animate the Ravine at all.
The risk with animating the Ravine is if Jim has a Snapcaster Mage, I suppose he can send just the Ravine. He doesn't have to send in Dark Confidant.
Am I crazy to want to send the other Ravine, or is that just because I have all the information of what's going on?
It's not crazy, but I think it is heavily influenced by that.
Okay. Here's Snap. There's a block. There's a path. There goes Jacob's board, at least most of it. 1 Ravine left.
It's a risky attack there with the Dark Confidant.
Davis picked up a Purge.
That lines up against the other Ravine, and then Jim's left over is a couple Colonnades.
Now, how do you feel about Jim not playing the land there?
I like it because of Liliana. He does not want he does not want Liliana to hit the Celestial Purge.
Yeah, okay. Because like he can play the land and represent the Purge, or excuse me, represent the Colonnade to block and trade with the Ravine, but instead Purge is going to take care of this. That'll get the Ravine will get exiled, and then Jim just has a land left in his hand. But now the land can come down, and now he can start activating Colonnade.
Right. I think I understand the argument for playing the land there, but I think the risk of Liliana is too high.
Sure.
Because Jim is really banking on that Purge lining up against the Ravine.
Back over to Davis. We're going to go take a look at the graveyard, getting the life totals in order, all that jazz. Davis has done a nice job of exchanging resources, taking care of 2 Raging Ravines this game.
I mean, Davis's sequencing and order in which he played his removal spells, to me, was a little unorthodox, but he's at least gotten the game to where he wants to be, which is we're both empty-handed, but Jim probably draws better pound for pound, and he's got 2 Colonnades in play.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of the spot that this Jeskai deck always wants to get into against other decks is, I've exhausted most of your resources and all that stuff. Looks like both players are trying to communicate the life totals here to make sure everything is in order. So they're going to get that figured out here. While they do, we're going to come back to the booth because, well, I don't really want to see 2 players scratch the top of their head. I don't know about you.
I'm off it. Come on back.
You're off
Yeah.
it? Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Come on back.
Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan here in the booth very quickly. Once they get that sorted out, we'll head back down to that match. So while we do wait for that, you know, this Jeskai deck looks good, man.
Yep.
I gotta tell you, you kind of brought it up at the Invitational when we were doing the pregame show. You just felt it was really the best home for Ancestral Vision. What's a little bit weird is like Ancestral Vision's not in the main deck, but it's still kind of trying to play that Ancestral Vision game plan, and I think it's working really well. And maybe it doesn't need Ancestral Vision. It does feel weird. You know, Jim has 2 in his sideboard, but we saw earlier a version without it. So, yeah, it's tough to say which way to go.
Well, my concern with Ancestral Vision is you have a lot of matchups. You have a lot of matchups where drawing a bunch of bolts doesn't matter. So you need to kind of gas back up. But that cuts the other way, too. If you have a lot of matchups where drawing a bunch of bolts doesn't matter, why are you trying to draw 3 cards when the card's not good in every single matchup?
Sure. There was a little bit of confusion, by the way, to catch you up on things about a Snapcaster Mage attack and the life totals. Life totals are correct. Everything else correct about this, as Jim did just resolve a Serum Visions, did some scrying, attacked with a Colonnade, and so we're all good as Jacob is going to search up a land.
And if you have Serum Vision and no Ancestral, you at least have something to do proactive with Snapcaster Mage in the matchups where bolts aren't the thing you're trying to flash back. If it's Ancestral instead, it's very hard.
Cletus is the draw. 3/4 lifelinker on the battlefield. Head Davis's way. Davis will draw now. I think he may have picked up a copy of Nahiri.
I think drawing a Nahiri here makes attacking pretty attractive with the Colonnade, because most likely Baugh untaps and attacks you, then you can Nahiri minus to get the Cletus off the table.
I think Jim is on the same page as you. Get in with the Colonnade.
I know there's some risk here, and if Baugh draws a backup threat here, it's problematic.
There's the attack.
But I think Jim needs to get this Cletus to be tapped to be able to answer it.
There's Raging Ravine. And now things maybe change for Jim because of the Raging Ravine that's there. Maybe. Because Jim is at 4. Raging Ravine, you attack, you get the counter. Doesn't look good.
Yeah, the question is, if Jim plays Nahiri and minuses to kill Cletus, are you 100% sure Baugh is going to fire up the Raging Ravine and go for the kill? If you think that's the case, then you may have to play Nahiri plus it and look for help. Because if you Nahiri into Snapcaster Mage, you can chump block and have a removal spell, and then maybe able to minus Nahiri next turn.
It's a tough spot.
Yep. I think Baugh is extremely likely to fire up the Ravine if Jim goes Nahiri minus and pass.
Yep.
So Davis probably has to just plus it and hope.
Davis going to play a land here, potentially in Scalding Tarn. He's just going to pass the turn back.
Okay, this is the other route here.
Yep. This is a route I like. What Jim has to do right now is hope that Jacob screws up.
That's not, well, sort of true. Baugh attacks. You put Colonnade in front of the Ravine.
Yep.
Trade off. Kalidas is now tapped, and Baugh gets a token as well. Nahiri minuses to kill the Kalidas. If you rip a removal spell for the zombie,
You're
okay,
still in it?
we keep playing.
All right. Counter going to go on the Ravine. And Davis's hand is forced. Colonnade into a 4/4. Block there. Damage will resolve. Zombie on the way. Colonnade gets exiled.
And now with the Ravine off the battlefield, if Davis has any sweepers in his deck, if he has Wrath of God or Supreme Verdict, that also answers this. So this is different than the route that came to me first, but I think what Davis is doing is better.
Liliana's not bad. Play a Wooded Foothills, make Davis discard a card. Davis is at 1. So Fetchline not going to do much, Colony not going to do much, and that is going to do it. So Jacob Baugh going to win game number 2 here over Jim Davis. John just got control, getting ready for game number 3.
Yep. Davis was able to get the game stable, but Baugh's draw steps were just good proactive stuff. Davis fumbled around there, drawing a remand he couldn't cast, and Baugh able to pick up game 2 here, tie it up.
Take a look at the sideboards here for Jim Davis. 2 Crumble to Dust, 2 Ancestral Visions. A Stony Silence, a Wear Tear, 2 Anger of the God, 2 Negate, and a Vanillion Click, a Timely Reinforcements, a Dispel, a Celestial Purge, and Engineer Explosives.
Well, interesting stuff going on here. Clearly the negates came in. I think the counter spells were pretty bad there. The game ended up being about what was happening on the battlefield and the Raging Ravines, and the gate just didn't line up the right way. If I was in Jim's spot, I would be looking at Ancestral Vision, I'd be looking at the Celestial Purge, and probably cards like Engineer Explosive, Vendilion Click, cards that help manage the board.
Other side of things for Jacob, a Disfigure, 2 Duress, a Grim Lavamancer, 2 Feed the Clan, Knob Nixless Reignited, and Night of Soul's Betrayal, an Ancient Grudge, a Pithy Needle, 2 Kolaghan's Commands, and 3 Fulminator Mages.
I'm guessing the Pithy Needle comes in here, the copies of Duress, the Grim Lavamancer as well, and possibly the copies of Fulminator Mage / Kolaghan's Command if he wants to go down that route. But I like Needle a lot in this matchup, and answering Colonnade and Nahiri, and the Duresses seem excellent.
Well, these players are shuffling up very quickly here for game number 3 because they're going to begin things, with about 10 minutes left, and this matchup is not a fast one. So we'll very quickly learn about your player's champion for 2015. That is Jim Davis, the team captain of Midgame Gurus. He has 31 from Long Island, New York, with 10 open top 8s, 2 open wins, with 1 this year, and 2 invitational top 8s. He is your 2015 SCG Players Champion. In addition to playing Magic and streaming, he is a local radio DJ, DJ JD as he calls himself, and he is a big-time hockey fan, even though his Rangers are out of the playoffs.
Yep, his alma mater, Stony Brook University, I think made the NCAA tournament this year on the men's side for, I believe, first time in school history.
Pretty big game.
Pretty big game.
Yeah. So we get ready here for game number 3. These players getting ready to rock and roll. Jeskai and Jund, just some modern mainstays that we always see. Jacob Baugh winning game 2 means Jim Davis will be on the play. Round 6 here from Indianapolis. If you are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, we're in the booth. Nick Miller's in the sideboard. He's doing your deck techs and picking your feature matches, as both players apparently did mulligan down to 6, so they're both scrying and keeping their 6-card hand. At SCG Live, hashtag SCGINDY all weekend long to join in on the conversation as we watch number 14 and number 20 respectively here in the SCG Tour do battle. Stomp Your Ground is a battlefield tap there for Jacob. For Davis, he started off with a Scalding Tarn, going to fall down to 19. We'll see what land Jim wants to search up. He'll go with a Hollowed Fountain.
I think we're going to see the pace of play speed up here quite a bit.
Sacred Fountain enters the battlefield tapped. We head back over to Baugh. He's got a Blackcleave Cliffs. For Davis, he'll draw. Cryptic Command, Sulphur Falls is the land. Pass it back over to Baugh. Blackcleave Cliffs. 3 mana. Fulminator Mage is your first test spell.
Yeah!
Patrick Sullivan seal of approval.
Get him.
But when? You don't got to get him right away. You can wait, pick your spots, maybe on the upkeep. Hollowed Fountain down. Draw a card.
Yeah, I like upkeep there.
Yeah?
Well, I don't want to do it right away. In case there's something like Vendilion Click for him to use his mana on.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Twilight Mire. That's the land.
Oh, he's got Kolaghan's Command. Get it back.
Here's an Inquisition of
The old discard LD strategy. Squeeze on both sides.
Path Exile. Looks like 2 of those in hand. A Spell Snare and a Nahiri, 2 Cryptic Commands.
Okay. I will go ahead and Kolaghan's Command, making you discard and getting back my Stone Rain.
Yep.
And keep just squeezing it down.
Yeah. Gonna be tough. Gonna be tough to take Nahiri there with Inquisition. Can't take that one. There we go. Spell Snare. That's legal. Okay. 3rd time's the charm.
Yep.
Take the Path Exile. Now.
Oh, Kolaghan's Command. Yeah.
There's Kolaghan's Command.
There we go. I want to leave Cryptic Command guy with just a plateau. That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, he just peeled a Flooded Strand. Deal with that. For what it's worth, now Jacob knows that his Fulminator Mage.
Needle.
Oh my God.
Oh, cast the needle. Cast the needle.
He's going to start with a Thoughtseize. It's a discard plus land destruction deck.
But you can play the needle.
Yep.
And if Jim says, okay, it resolves, you put it on Flooded Strand.
I get it.
If he responds, you put it on Nahiri.
No, I get it.
Best of both worlds.
I get it. I see what you're saying here. Thoughtseize takes care of Nahiri. Now here's Fulminator Mage. He's going to use Fulminator Mage right now. Patrick nodding his head. You can't see it at home, but he's very happy as Jim's going to sacrifice his Flooded Strand as well. Simpler times.
Love it.
Yeah.
I still would have led with the needle there.
I know you would have. I understand what you're trying to do there. I do.
I think there's a reasonable chance it's the right play regardless.
Sure.
And the comedy upside is through the roof.
Yeah, and really at the end of the day, what's more important than that? It's here's a Liliana. That's gonna get remanded.
LD discard.
Yep. Combo deck.
Doing both things.
And now here's a Pithing Needle. I can't wait
Scalding
to see what he
Tarn.
names. I cannot wait to see what he
Scalding
names.
Tarn.
We'll get confirmation in just a moment. He named Arid Mesa.
All right,
He named Arid Mesa.
All right, good enough.
Mana Leak the draw for Jim. I'm going to do an Arid Mesa check. There's only one Arid Mesa. Now I kind of want Jim to draw it. Here's a Thoughtseize. Going to take care of Mana Leak. There's a Liliana. That's going to resolve.
More discard to pair with more land destruction.
Yep. See what Jim wants to discard. See, you don't get to, you don't get to do the shows as much anymore.
I gotta get back on the road. I miss this.
Serum Visions.
Come on, Arid Mesa.
The draw is I didn't get a good look at it. There's Arid Mesa.
Yes. Yes.
He's got foot to the bottom.
Yes.
Here's Omnixless. Sure.
More discard. We're getting an emblem up in here.
Yeah, that's a Liliana strategy here. Jim's going to discard Cryptic Command. Obnixilus is up to 6, so Jacob's going to draw a card at the expense of a life. Davis will draw. He found a basic island.
Pretty lucky.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Had Jacob's way. Found a Tarmogoyf.
That's lame. That Baugh's going to kill him with that before the Planeswalker is going to really come into play, I think.
Liliana's going to go up to 6. Jacob discarding Tarmogoyf.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So he knows.
Eyes on the prize.
He knows. Jacob going to pay a life to draw a card. He has another Tarmogoyf in hand. He'll just pass the turn back right now, though. David's going to pick up a copy of Nahiri, and we might get ourselves an ultimate here from Liliana as we head back Jacob Baugh's way. Going to start things off with Obnixilus. Draw a card. Picked up a Terminate. It's an ultimate Liliana strategy. More land destruction.
You go up with the discard, you go down with a Stone Rain.
Yep, that's
in line with all the previous plays.
Well, Steam Vent's down. Steam Vent's down.
And now we go back to the discard.
Yeah,
we have a backup Liliana. I start doing this.
Yeah, take it up. See what Jim wants. Jim's gonna discard a Spell Snare.
I am in tears.
Yeah, Jim can't eat. No more. Jacob Baugh gonna win this match over Jim Davis. 2 games to 1. Jund takes care of Jeskai control as only Jund can. And Jacob Baugh gonna move on to 5-1 here in Indianapolis.